So hello and welcome to the first proper video of 2024. So today I'm actually going to be talking about my most disappointing reads of 2023. These are books that I had really high hopes for and they just didn't deliver on what I wanted. There is obviously a mix of manga in here and a mix of books, but 2023 was an okay reading year for me. There were some really good books and some ones that really surprised me, and then there were some that really disappointed me. There were some that were okay that I'm not really going to talk about because I didn't really have high expectations for them and they delivered what I wanted them to deliver. These are the books that I had really high expectations for, or at least thought it was going to give me something that I would enjoy, and they just didn't. So, in no particular order. Yona of the Dawn Volume 1. Now, I had really high expectations for this. I have heard a lot of talk about how a lot of people love Yona of the Dawn because it's about this princess who loses her kingdom and she has to fight for her kingdom. That's all I knew about it going into it. I thought, yeah, that sounds really fun. Even though it's got an older art style because it's an older manga, it looks pretty. It looks pretty in the character. It looks fun. It looks like a fun adventure. Maybe I'm a bit old for the demographic, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, I was disappointed with it. We have Yona, who is the 16-year-old princess of the kingdom, and so it's leading up to her 16th birthday and there's the celebrations going on, and at the celebrations she sees her cousin kill her father. Now that is where my main problem lies. She's actually in love with her cousin. Now I know in Japan there was this thing about marrying the first cousin, and I don't know, it just really messed with me. Every time she thought about her cousin, it's all she could think. I couldn't get past it, the fact that she was in love with the cousin, which has really ruined it for me because there's quite a bit of incest in there. I just couldn't get my head over it. Like, I don't look at my cousins and go, like, I couldn't even, like, no. I think a lot of that was the driving force of her character, to be honest, about she was in love with the character. She was quite naive. I will say the premise of Hack, her childhood best friend, like learning his backstory, he's her personal god, you can see that they're going to end up together, which I haven't got a problem with. I just think it's all she could think about. Like, she was like, oh, my cousin's here, oh, he's so funny, but he doesn't see me as a girl, he doesn't see me as a woman, he sees me as a girl, even though he gave me this hair clip. And I don't know, and there's a love triangle going on, and I think with the love triangle trope, I think it can be done well. I just really couldn't get my head around it. And I've read some really bad books. I think it just ruined it for me because it just felt very tropey and just very incestuous, and it's just like, yeah, so I don't think I'll be carrying on. I'm sure, does it get better? Should I give it another chance? I don't know. It's just not what I expected going into it. The next one is To Your Eternity Volume 18. Now, I'm just gonna disclaimer, I love To Your Eternity. I think it started off so strongly and then it's kind of lost its way in this arc. We were in the modern arc and there's a lot of characters. The story is just starting to feel very bloated with all these characters because I cannot tell who is who because it's the modern setting. So some of them are at a school and some of the friends, I have no idea who some of them are. I can't get my head around who's supposed to be who this is supposed to be. And the story with the Knockers, it feels like the Knockers, the story should have ended in the last arc and we should have had this conclusion. It just feels like the Knockers story doesn't know where to go and the author just doesn't know what to do with them anymore, and we're rehashing a lot of the same points. I don't know, it just feels bloated and it's like a slog to get through almost, and I really love To Your Eternity. So I know there's another arc after this one, so I can't wait to get this arc over and done with because I think it's definitely one of the worst arcs in the entire series. But the story should have ended in the last arc and then concluded with the modern arc because it would have been, I personally would have ended it there because it would have been the perfect wrap up, but it just didn't, it just wasn't it. And I think now that I'm on volume 18, I think the arc, I can't remember if it's from like volume 13 or 14, the arc is just feeling now. Portrait of a Thief. Now, when I first picked this up, I thought this sounds amazing. It sounds fun. What I got was very boring, and I'm not sure how you can make a heist boring. So A Portrait of the Thief is about these Chinese students, so some of them are like Yale and Harvard, and they're employed by one from the Chinese government to go and steal the heads of the zodiac that are in the museums around the world because they were wrongfully taken and China want them back, which fair enough, yeah, it shouldn't have been taken anyway. How do you make a heist boring? And also, not to mention, one of the main characters, his dad works for the FBI. This just seems very convenient. But he isn't careful enough. If your dad was working for the FBI and there's been a big case that these thefts are happening and it's under your own nose, I don't know, I just thought that was a bit of a weird plot point. I don't know, maybe it was just to add a bit of tension, I guess. This isn't my place to say, obviously. A lot of it was to do with the discussion of being Chinese American and trying to find the identity between being American and being Chinese, which is something obviously I can't comment on. One, because I'm not Chinese, and two, I'm not American. Like, I can't comment on that cultural aspect. So that's something I don't really want to comment on. I suppose if someone could tell me if the book does handle that well. The actual heist, so I'm going to talk about it from more of a story perspective. The actual heist, oh, where to begin? So they do manage to pull it off. One of the ways that they plan for a heist is by watching films about doing a heist. I suppose you could think about, oh yeah, these are students, but they're also very intelligent students. That just felt a bit, they're very intelligent students and they're watching films about doing a heist. I just couldn't get my head around that. You would at least think they would look at the plans and try to come up with a plan and actually try and think about what they were doing. That was the one thing that just stuck in my head. I just couldn't get it. But yeah, the actual heists were boring, and then one of the girls was like this adrenaline junkie, and like there's a car race in the middle of it. It was a good writing style, but I don't know, it was boring. I just found it very tedious and boring, and I don't know, the actual heists just weren't as action packed as I thought they were going to be. I suppose the best heist I've ever read was Six of Crows, and that was fun though. That was fun. You could feel the stakes. In this one you couldn't feel the stakes, and that's what I wanted from it, and it's not what I got. I think it should have focused more on talking about the identity of being Chinese and being American and trying to come to terms with where you belong, essentially. Like, you don't belong to either. I think the book would have done much better discussing that in some different way than doing a heist. So My Special One Volume 1 also really disappointed me. I thought it sounded intriguing. The main character, she's never really fallen in love with someone because she got rejected by someone and she never wanted to be embarrassed again, so she's sworn off being in love with anyone, and her friend is obsessed with this J-pop group, and lo and behold, it's very stereotypical. One of the J-pop group ends up at her family's bakery, like ordering, and so she goes and delivers. They start up a really good conversation, and then she start to become friends, and the age gap's already a bit of a problem, but she falls for him really quickly, and I don't know if it's just me, I don't like insta-love. That is insta-love. Like, I know we don't pick the people we fall in love with. Tropes can be done very well, believe it or not, but this just felt a bit forced almost. Like, she's got personality, but at the end of the manga she confesses to him and he rejects her, and okay, I like that dynamic, but if it was a short story, fair enough, but I think this is like still got quite a few volumes to go in the series. Maybe that should have been done, she confessed further on later down the line. I don't know, it just disappointed me, and I'm definitely not picking up the next one, so I will be selling the volume. It just didn't click with what I wanted. Like, I wanted a specific feeling from it, and it just didn't evoke that, so. So another book that disappointed me last year was Beyond Black by Hilary Mantel. Oh my god, this was one of the most miserable books I have ever had the misfortune to read. It sounded so intriguing. I went to Spain in November and I saw it at the airport because I'd never heard of the author, and it was like in the top charts. I was like, that sounds interesting. It was about a psychic medium and her assistant. But oh my god, the actual psychic medium the assistant is so horrible to the medium. I can't even remember their names because I hated it that much. I just hated the assistant. She was horrible. He leaves her at the end and goes and bloody moves in with her ex-husband. The writing feels very disjointed at times. I don't know if that was an intentional choice because the medium can't really make sense of what's happened in her past. A lot of fatophobic comments about her being overweight, and I don't know if that's how she thinks about herself or what the author was saying. It just felt really miserable to get through. And the writing style was really nice, but sometimes I could just not make sense of what was going on. Like one bit she'd be talking to the ghost, and then the next it's like talking about Princess Diana's death, and I'm like, when did we jump from this to this? And it's like, considering that's the first book I've ever read by the author, I don't really have very high hopes for ever picking up her other ones. And I don't know, it's just not what I thought I was gonna get. I thought I was gonna get this like tale about this medium and like about what her life was like, which yeah, it kind of did, but it was just miserable. And yeah, miserable books can be done well. Like, oh god, I'm gonna hate saying this. I absolutely hate Wuthering Heights. It's a miserable book, but at least it's coherent and I can actually understand it. This book, I couldn't understand it. I can't believe I just said that because I absolutely hate Wuthering Heights. Considering it took me a month to read because I thought it might get better, it might get better. It just never did. And the sun is setting right now. Like, it's only 4 o'clock, so I am going to try and wrap this up really quickly. So another disappointing book was Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This book sounded amazing from the premise. It's a coming of age story about an 11-year-old who finds this book in like this mysterious bookshop that's kept hidden, and it's set after the Spanish Civil War, so I believe that's like the 1940s, and it's set in Barcelona. The language used pretty, the story itself was just wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. The actual story at the end was the ending was a bit like, I felt was a bit random. The actual book that it's about just felt very random. It's about trying to uncover the life of the author of this book, because this book is like out of print, so it's really rare to find this book that he's obsessed with, because Daniel grows up reading it constantly and he forgets his mother's face. There's a lot of misogyny in this book. All the women characters are portrayed like the devils, and then there's like I can't remember if he was a priest, because I read it like at the beginning of last year, or if he was like this thing where Daniel went to live and he was in love with a niece, and then but the niece and the older guy that he goes to the house with are in a relationship. It's his niece, the older guy's niece. Why do I keep picking up books with incest? I felt like that was just really unnecessary and really stupid. The writing style was nice, but yeah, again, the actual story just wasn't what I wanted it to be. It didn't. A lot of these books just didn't give me what I wanted, essentially. So yeah, I'm trying not to say too much without spoiling the story, because it's, you know, it's hard without going into spoilers. But in summary, it was just disappointing. But yeah, that is it for this week's video. So I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to comment down below if you had any disappointed reads, or if you think I should try and give Yona the Dawn a second try, because I'm still on the fence about that one. It just wasn't what I wanted though. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next week.